Welcome to your Houston Rewind for December 12th through the 16th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. Keeping tabs on all the headlines in our area can be pretty overwhelming, but we know you want to be in the know, so this is an opportunity for us to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. People who live near the ship channel got the chance to sound off Monday night, demanding the Valero plant needs to do more to protect their health. State environmental officials are considering Valero's application for one of its permits. Lauren Tellerico was there for the public hearing.
The permit is not for this large facility behind me. It's for some of the tanks there, known as tank farms. They hold all sorts of chemicals, including known carcinogens like benzene. During Hurricane Harvey, Valero said heavy rain submerged one of their tank's floating roofs, and benzene and crude oil were released. Others complained at the time they were nauseous, had burning eyes, and were not warned about the dangers. Tonight, many residents asked the TECQ to demand more safety precautions before extending Valero's permit, while other community members came to show their support for Valero because of the jobs it provides and also community outreach.
So every scholarship in the world is fine, but we ought not to consider a good neighbor one that could potentially give us cancer.
No matter where you live, no matter where you work, play, go to school, we all have the right to breathe clean air. And unless we hold the sources of pollution accountable to that, it affects our entire region.
One of the big takeaways tonight is residents want real-time data of what's being released into the air, when it's being released into the air, not 2 weeks later as it stands now. Now, whether the TECQ will grant the permit as is, we won't know that until mid to late next month at the earliest. Reporting from East Houston, I'm Lauren Tellerico, KHOU 11 News.
Northeast Houston neighbors want a decades-old eyesore gone. They met Monday night to talk about the old shopping center at Homestead and Parker. Jason Miles learned the center was once anchored by one of the city's first Kmart stores.
It's been a long time since the last blue light special.
It looks bad.
At what was Houston's fourth ever Kmart store.
I have out-of-state family. When they come here, it's like, huh?
Kmart anchored this strip center beginning in 1965, but it's basically been an eyesore for about as long as it operated.
I don't want to tell my age, but it's been like this since the 90s.
Kathy Gunter is with the Houston Garden Civic Club and was one of several people who recently shared their concerns about this property with the Houston City Council.
Oh, I think it's in deplorable conditions. I think we need an upgrade. It's time.
According to the council member who represents this district, all of this was supposed to have been demolished the last time the property was purchased, about a decade ago. I'm told a number of plans to rejuvenate the site have never quite come together, and now there is renewed interest in creating something beneficial for the entire community. But a spokesperson for developer Al Kashani tells me that would require the city and/or other investors pitching in. Meanwhile, he continues to pay taxes on the massive property.
I think we could come up with some solutions and talk about it. I think it's good for a discussion.
Many say anything is better than how things currently stand. In Northeast Houston, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
The historic mission to the moon ended with a splashdown in the Pacific on Sunday. The Orion spacecraft made it back to Earth after an uncrewed test flight around the moon. Sherman Chow looked at what scientists hope to learn from the Artemis I mission.
Splashdown, the latest chapter of NASA's journey to the moon, comes to a close.
Orion is back on Earth, but its post-flight analysis is just beginning. No humans were on board, but 3 mannequins were.
What we learn on Artemis I with our mannequins assistants will help us better understand how a human will actually behave in the seat, both for landing and for launch.
2 of the dummies, nicknamed Helga and Zohar, were comparing space radiation exposure. One wore a safety vest, the other did not.
Space radiation is a mix of high-energy, heavy-charged particles that originate from the sun. To put things in perspective, 1 year of Earth exposure to cosmic rays is equivalent with 1 day of space radiation exposure in deep space.
The results could help engineers design suits and vehicles for deep space travel. Other key elements: how did the engines perform? Fuel use, trajectory, thrust.
One of the great things about the math involved in flying in space is you're trying to balance how fast you're going with gravitational pulls from things like the moon.
Artemis also carried science experiments, including one on board a miniature satellite left behind to orbit the sun. Scientists will study the impact of radiation on yeast cells.
The same yeast cell that you use to make bread or beer, as those cells get activated by putting media into them, feeding them, and then watching them grow. And it'll send all that data back by telemetry from deep space. We never have to get that science back.
The next big target, an Orion test flight with 4 astronauts to circle the moon in 2024, and eventually a sustainable manned moon base. Sharon Min-Chow, KHOU 11 News.
New information out Tuesday night shows the system may have failed to protect a little boy allegedly killed by his adoptive parents. A new report revealed there were signs 7-year-old Troy Kohler was being abused months before his death. Marcelino Benito shared some of those heartbreaking details.
7-year-old Troy Kohler's abuse started at the hands of his biological mother.
This kid from birth has never had a break.
CPS abuse reports detail how Troy was born with opiates in his system. His biological mother admitted to drug use during the pregnancy. His mother agreed to help from the state, but after Troy was hospitalized, CPS removed him from his biological parents' custody. He ended up in a foster home before being adopted by Tiffany and Jermaine Thomas.
What you see is a case of a child who's fallen through the cracks.
Troy's life wouldn't get better. In January 2022, CPS received a report of Troy having bruising around his eyes. 2 months prior to that, he had a black eye his adoptive mother blamed on a fall. CPS also noted a burn mark on his back that parents claimed happened at a family gathering in 2020. CPS ultimately decided he was safe and closed the case.
I think the warning signs, right, over and over and over, there were reports.
Only 2 months later, CPS received another report, this time more bruising on his face, a fingernail imprint on his neck, a scratch on his cheek, and redness around his eyes. When questioned, Troy offered different explanations, but never blamed adults. His adoptive parents offered different excuses for the injuries too. A pediatrician treated the redness around his eyes by prescribing allergy medicine. CPS closed the case again, deciding Troy was, quote, safe.
It's alarming that they let this go, and when you see that they thought at certain times this kid was safe, he was never safe.
3 months later, Troy was found dead in a washing machine at his parents' home. Prosecutors say his adopted dad, Jermaine, drowned him and hit him with an object.
The authorities were warned that this kid was in danger, yet nothing happened.
Bob Sanborn, CEO of Children at Risk, says the system failed again. Troy's face is the one that made the news, but so many other children meeting similar fates.
As a state, we claim to care about kids, but when we see these deaths happening, it begs the question, do we really care about our kids?
Sanborn says there is plenty of blame to go around, and not just CPS, but statewide leadership and those inadequately funding agencies meant to protect our children.
When you see it over and over again like this, this is an alarm that we need to be taking this serious and do something about it.
KHOU 11 requested an interview with the director of Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We were told they are not doing interviews on this case. As for Tiffany and Jermaine Thomas, they're both due back in court in February. A vigil held Tuesday night marked 2 years since Jason Landry disappeared. Supporters gathered in Luling, near where the Texas State student's car was found crashed and abandoned. Jason's parents weren't at the vigil, but Grace White talked to many of their supporters, still pressing for answers.
Lord, we just ask that you lead us to Jason.
By candlelight, a crowd came together.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. To remember Jason Landry.
I've never been involved in a missing persons case before, but this was just very close to where I live.
And a push for answers in what's become a 2-year mystery.
There are just still so many unknowns. There are all these uncertainties.
Landry's car was found crashed near Luling.
Did you find the driver?
I have not. I went up and down Salt Flat and I haven't located him yet.
He left his college apartment in San Marcos on December 13th, 2020. He was headed to his parents' house in Missouri City for Christmas break, but never made it.
Socks, shorts.
His father, Kent Landry, found his clothes in the middle of the road and his cell phone in his car. From the beginning, he says, they didn't do enough to find his son.
It just feels like your child is discarded because they treat everything with this investigation with such indifference.
Investigators with the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office released a string of social media videos. They show Landry talking about getting high. Caldwell County has said they have no evidence of foul play, But to these supporters,
2, 3.
2 years is too long not to have answers.
Is he alive somewhere? I mean, we don't expect that, but if he is, we want to know. And if he has passed, what happened to him? We just want answers.
Jason's family doubled the reward. It's now up to $20,000. The Texas Attorney General's cold case unit would welcome any tips. A local organization is expanding to help reach more people in need. Memorial Assistance Ministries, otherwise known as MAM, opened up a new office and resale shop in the Heights. Anayeli Ruiz introduced us to these Texans helping Texans.
Well, we have our clothes here.
Meet 75-year-old Laura Love. A few months ago, she found herself in a difficult spot.
I was going into work one day and I got a call that said, "Don't come in. I sold it, it's gone."
When Laura applied for unemployment, she was denied.
I found out someone had stolen my Social Security number.
And now without a job, she couldn't make ends meet.
I was just getting further and further behind in bills and, I couldn't catch a breath.
Fortunately, she turned to Memorial Assistance Ministries, otherwise known as MAM.
Talk about a beacon, in a storm. This is MAM.
MAM not only helped her pay some of her bills, they offered her computer classes, helped her with a resume, and now they even offered her a job.
The opportunity to gain the skills that they may have a gap in and to access work that can really provide a living wage for them and their families.
And after 40 years in the community and serving 15,000 people, MAM has expanded to open up this location in the Heights, with not just a new office location, but classrooms and a resale shop.
This really allows us to be in a much more strategic position and closer to the part of the community in this area that we're serving.
And for Laura,
because I don't know where I'd be right now without them.
This new location is a new opportunity.
This is my life raft. MAM saved me.
If you would like more information about MAM, you can head to our website at KHOU.com. In the Heights, Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
On Wednesday, our KHOU 11 Investigates team shared new details about who knew what regarding the Houston boil water notice. That order shut down schools and disrupted businesses across the city. In the end, it impacted millions of people. Jeremy Rogalski shared texts and emails that give us a glimpse into what was happening behind the scenes.
City leaders faced heavy criticism last month for taking 8 hours to issue a boil water notice after a water plant power outage caused a drop in pressure. That happened at 10:30 Sunday morning, November 27th. But the first text message the head of Public Works, Carol Haddock, received was nearly 2 hours later. East Water Purification Plant having issues. Power issues at EWPP. It then took almost another hour for Director Haddock to text Mayor Turner, writing, "We had a power disruption at the East Plant this morning." From their emails show Public Works supervisors mapped the low-pressure areas and did field checks of those spots, leading the city's regulatory compliance director to recommend that the city issue a boil water notice as soon as is practicable. That was at 4:05 in the afternoon. The notice went out more than 2.5 hours later.
The team was on it. They reviewed it.
At the time, Mayor Turner defended the city's handling of the notice.
A city municipality has 24 hours to issue the boil water notice from the time of the incident.
But some city leaders were frustrated for being kept out of the loop. Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin texted this to Public Works Director Haddock, "Pathetic. No freaking excuse why council members were not informed until the media did." And there was also aggravation over the water sampling process to rescind the boil water notice, with Mayor Turner sending late night and early morning texts to Public Works staff. "We need to get samples to TCEQ as early as possible," he wrote. "I don't want students to miss 2 days of school. Status of samples being submitted? Has the lab scientist certified the read? They need to finish and get everything to TCEQ." The mayor adding, "This is crazy."
Emails from Public Works senior staff also revealed a potential cause for the initial power disruption. They addressed, quote, "some faulty underground wire" on a line repaired 3 years ago, but added that repair was a splice, which may be the cause of the short. A department spokesperson wouldn't comment on the issue until a full diagnostic report is complete. Our Investigates team is keeping tabs on this story. You can check out what else they're working on at khou.com/investigations. At a time when so many teachers are leaving the profession, Houston ISD recognized those who've stuck around, not just for years, but for decades. Jason Miles met a teacher who joined the district in the 60s.
In a landmark school building on Houston's East End,
I had them to come over here because I told them that you all knew how to do something.
a monumental education career is still going strong.
I started with the district in January of 1968.
77-year-old Sharon Lamond is in her 54th year. Does it seem that long?
No, seems like it just started yesterday.
Lamond has taught various subjects at virtually every grade level over 5 decades. This is a photo from Whittier Elementary in the 1980s, where she spent more than 20 years.
I like teaching reading and math and seeing them light up because of it. To me, that's very, very important.
Lamond's first job was at this school in the Heights during integration. She admits it wasn't always pleasant being a part of what was known as the crossover program.
I was one of those teachers in the crossover program to go to an all Caucasian school.
It was the same year Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated.
I would walk down the hallways and sometimes people wouldn't even speak. I would say good morning, nobody would say anything.
Lamond says things improved over time thanks in part to collaborative relationships with colleagues, students, and their families.
Some of the students I taught in elementary school, I taught their children. And then, believe it or not, I've taught some of their grandchildren.
She had 6 children of her own and earned a law degree along the way. But the classroom,
you have to be flexible and you have to be very caring,
is where Ms. Lamond believes she really belongs.
Ms. Lamond currently teaches Skills for Living and Learning, or SLL, to special needs students who clearly love her. And she apparently likes sticking with things for the long haul. She's also been married for more than 50 years. Nothing says the holidays quite like lights, and lots of them. Our Living in the Lone Star Holiday Home Edition continued Wednesday in the Heights. Lights in the Heights, of course, is known for block after block of houses all lit up. The pick of the night went to Marcy at the Bayland house, dressed in classic white lights. Look, if this is your jam, you have to check out our KHOU 11 Plus holiday playlist. More lights and holiday-themed hidden gems like Lightscape, Sugarland Holiday Lights, Deck the Trees, the Light Park, and Texas Winter Lights. You can binge all of those right now after we're done with the rewind, of course. This was the moment police confronted a wrong-way driver early Thursday morning. Incredibly, no one was hurt. Brittany Ford found out about the life-saving technology that alerted dispatchers.
We're going to have a wrong-way driver in the West Park. Post-up vehicle going westbound and eastbound lanes.
Dramatic moments as deputies attempt to stop a wrong-way driver on the West Park Tollway.
You guys be careful, he's moving.
TransStar video captures the driver traveling westbound in the eastbound lanes around 3:30 Thursday morning after multiple close calls traveling at least 12 miles.
That first spike on the down to the gas center.
The driver, 34-year-old Gregory Hodges, charged with DWI, finally came to a stop near Westheimer Place after deputies deployed 2 sets of tire spikes. Their fast action a result of the Harris County Tollway's wrong-way detection system.
It is another tool and one that has already saved lives and is going to continue to save lives.
Sean Tier with Harris County's Vehicular Crimes Unit says the detectors are set up at each tollway station.
In this case, the wrong-way detection system basically alerted officers immediately when this defendant got on an exit ramp for the West Park Tollway. We knew that he was going the wrong way immediately.
The technology, one of the ways law enforcement is trying to crack down on a problem plaguing our roadways.
Harris County leads the nation every single year in intoxicated-related fatalities on the roadways.
In this case, Tier says,
this is a great story. This is a happy ending, and it's because of not only that system, but the bravery of every one of those first responders that went out there.
This weekend's crunch time for holiday shopping. Before you go to a crowded mall, we have a heads up. Thieves are looking for any devices you leave in your car, and Stephanie Whitfield showed us they can find your tablet or smartphone even if those are hidden out of sight.
There's nothing unusual about someone walking around a parking lot with their phone out. But Coleman Ryan wants you to know
there's no doubt there's a very nice smartphone in there.
There are high-tech criminals out there using their devices to find yours.
They're like, darn, the one time I leave my smartphone or tablet in the car and it gets stolen, man, those thieves were lucky. And I tell them, no, they weren't.
Ryan says his job is preventing and solving digital crimes. He says devices with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are designed to be easily found and paired with.
Unfortunately, the criminals have recognized this and have leveraged that to their advantage to make their crime easier.
He showed us several free proximity scanners.
And it breaks it down to far, near, and immediate.
That find nearby devices using Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
The default friendly names on these devices are like John's iPhone 14. So they know, hey, I've got a high dollar latest greatest or whatever it may be.
Criminals abusing the technology are why the Galleria now has signs like this posted in the parking lot, urging people to protect Bluetooth-enabled devices.
Get it out of eyeshot and put it in airplane mode or turn it off.
That way, it's at least a little harder for the bad guys honing in on their next victim. Stephanie Whitfield, KHOU,
Bingo.
11 News.
There are other steps you can take to protect your technology. Stephanie details those in this article on KHOU.com. They thought they were buying health insurance, but that's not what they got. Jeremy Rogalski investigated a faith-based Houston company that left consumers nationwide steaming mad.
We reviewed hundreds of complaints from consumers who claimed this company took their money but left them with little to no coverage and a lot of unpaid medical bills. They needed insurance and searched online, typed in their information, and later got a call pitching an affordable plan.
They said it was a PPO multi-plan.
Everything was covered for this extremely low rate.
He said it's the same in the same network as United Healthcare.
So you were thinking this is legitimate health insurance?
Right.
But when this card came in the mail, it said this is not insurance from a company they never heard of, Jericho Share. So what is Jericho Share? Well, it lists an address here, a UPS store off Westheimer Road. And across town, business records show it's affiliated with this church under what's known as a healthcare sharing ministry. Here's how that works. Members who share religious beliefs pay into a fund which is used to cover or share other members' medical costs. But these ministries are not regulated like traditional health plans, and they're not legally bound to pay claims.
I got a bill from the hospital that was over $1,000.
Melissa Boldy learned the hard way after a trip to the ER.
And I called this company and I said, why isn't any of this covered? It says that you didn't cover any of it. And they told me, well, you don't have hospital coverage.
I thought I was covered. I was told I was covered.
Caitlin Hurst says she's on the hook for $20,000 in bills Jericho Share didn't pay.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm kind of at a point where I may have to file for bankruptcy.
She and many other consumers have complained to the Better Business Bureau.
Over 150 complaints on Jericho Share within the last year alone.
Leah Napoliello says while healthcare sharing ministries are legal, it's how they're marketed that can cross the line.
And it appears to be third-party marketers that are contacting people via phone and either telling them or leading them to believe that this is health insurance when it is not actually health insurance.
And that could be a problem.
Yes, it is a huge problem.
At least 2 states are investigating Jericho Share, the Texas Department of Insurance and the New Hampshire Insurance Department, which claims it's acting as an unauthorized insurance company. A Jericho Share spokesman tells us it is cooperating with authorities, has redesigned its website to clearly show it's not a health insurance company, and has shifted away from using outside sales centers. The company also says it's giving refunds to new members who request one within 30 days.
They do not need to be in business.
But many former members, like James and Cynthia Wood, say they're still fighting for their money back. How much money are you out?
$827.70.
Have you seen a dime of that?
No.
Now, a company spokesman maintains Jericho Share does not condone any misrepresentation and is making sure it communicates openly and transparently with members. As for that church involved, the pastor of the House of Prayer and Life tells me she was not aware of all these complaints and referred us back to Jericho Share.
If you're looking for health insurance in the marketplace, the Better Business Bureau recommends shopping around only on the official government site, that is healthcare.gov. A Houston area family learned a heartbreaking lesson ahead of the holidays. Their loved one passed, and then his house was burglarized. I found out about what happened after more than a dozen people tagged me in Lee's TikTok video, which now has more than 1 million views. She wants to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. Out of concern for her safety, she asked us not to use her last name.
His truck is stolen. His house has been broken into. I am livid.
You can hear that emotion flaring in Lee as she documented on TikTok what was left at her Uncle Mike's Cleveland home.
I mean, you guys look.
Devastation, anger. I was so upset. My uncle would do anything for anybody. He worked hard for the little bit that he had. So to walk in and see that anything that he owned that was valuable to him was gone, devastating.
Lee walked through her uncle's house on November 12th, 3 days after he passed away, 9 since he first went to the hospital.
We thought what was minor issue turned out to be pancreatic cancer. It was very invasive. We found out he had cancer on Tuesday morning and he passed on Tuesday night.
A series of events that seemed to happen so fast, the family didn't think about how long Mike's house sat empty, giving thieves time to take his guitars, his computers, his truck.
It was devastating, completely.
On top of losing.
I didn't even have time to grieve. I was so angry. I'm still angry.
She's sharing what happened, yes, to hopefully recover some of what was stolen, but also to let others know not to leave a loved one's home empty while they're at the hospital or even after they pass.
I would love people to just be aware of that because I was not.
In her final TikTok update, Lee shared she tracked down one of Mike's most prized possessions, his cat Scooter.
I know my uncle would have been very happy.
The search continues for the other stolen items, including her uncle's custom Fender Stratocaster, this blue Fender, this red one. We have more pictures and details on KHOU.com if you want to take a closer look. The Liberty County Sheriff's Office is investigating, but more than a month on, deputies still don't have any leads. We're days away from Christmas, so airports are crowded with people flying to see loved ones. Millions of people are expected to fly in and out of Houston this weekend. On Friday, Stephanie Whitfield visited Bush Airport to share what you need to know before you catch your flight.
If you're traveling today, consider this your heads up. It has been busy and crowded at Bush Airport all morning long.
Long before sunrise, lines were forming in Terminal A at Bush Intercontinental Airport. Airport officials say this is one of the busiest travel days of the year.
I figured that out whenever it costs so much money to fly. It was a lot because I've never spent that much on a flight. So I was like, yeah, probably because Christmas and stuff like that.
More than 3 million people are expected to fly in and out of Houston airports yesterday and today.
And we can't say it enough. Arrive early, arrive early, arrive early. That is the #1 tip we can give any traveler.
To speed up getting through security, TSA spokesperson Patricia Mancha has some reminders. She says food is okay to pack, but leave water bottles at home.
So tamales, you can travel with as many as you can carry. But if you're bringing salsa, make sure that it's under 3.4 ounces.
To avoid cutting it close,
an hour early. But we have TSA pre-check, so hopefully that works out.
TSA recommends getting to the airport 2 hours early for domestic flights. You can check security wait times at flytohouston.com.
A quick reminder, if you're traveling with gifts, TSA says people get really upset when they have to open up beautifully wrapped presents, but they say they have to look inside those packages, so they recommend waiting to wrap your gifts until after you get through security or using gift bags.
Text the word travel to 713-526-1111 and we'll send back links with information about arrivals, departures, parking for both Houston airports. If you are one of so many people traveling over the holidays, you'll be gone when Houston's expected to get a serious blast of cold air. So Gerald Harris offers some advice about how to make sure your home is prepared just in case.
Many people are preparing to hit the road this holiday season.
We're leaving town tomorrow, so I'm just trying to get everything ready because we're going to be gone for about a week.
With falling temperatures expected, homeowners like Rod Chris are hoping to protect their homes while they're away.
And I've got some plumbing in the closet outside that just needs some insulation.
Temperatures are expected to get below freezing heading into Christmas weekend. And while conditions are not supposed to be as extreme as the Texas freeze in 2021, it's a reminder to be prepared.
Customers that weren't able to insulate their pipes or really prepare for it, or they're out of town, they experienced a number of broken pipes inside their home, which led to numerous amounts of property damage and homes being flooded out.
That's the worst case scenario for thousands ahead of the cold snap. So experts are recommending people prepare earlier.
Just want to go ahead, err on the side of caution and try to get as much water out of your pipes as possible before it happens. Or while it's happening, you can get outside and turn your water line off to your house and just start, open up your faucets and just let it drain out as best as possible.
Hardware shops are stocked with various products folks could use to help protect their homes.
If you're the one thinking that something's going to happen, chances are the rest of the city is thinking the same thing. So definitely the sooner the better.
Of course, keep tabs on the Houston area forecast by downloading the KHOU 11 News app or by visiting khou.com/weather. Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you are ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via khou.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week.